There is $4 billion that came into the city. Most of it so far has been spent on developing. But when me as a tradesman, even in my community, and there's another $4 billion coming. But all of you guys who've been in office, I've yet to see, especially people like yourself, to speak up and say, hey, wait a minute, let's put the residents, as whether they're general contractors, subcontractors, or regular workers, to get a piece of that $4 billion. Look around our community. No wonder why the crime is as it is. I bet you in your community, a building couldn't go up without hiring at least half of the residents. Am I right? How do you address that?
I'm all in favor of Boston people working. When I was a city councilor, I was in charge of the Boston residency ordinance. I took over an office that 2/3 of the people did not live in the city of Boston or in this county of Suffolk. Now 2/3 of the people do live in Boston. I mean, I'm the district attorney. If you haven't heard me out there on the stump screaming, hollering about hiring Boston residents, it's because no one asked me. I mean, I live in Boston my whole life. Okay, I'm right now serving as your district attorney. My job is to serve victims and hold criminals accountable for their actions. I don't do any development. Other than today, my office is more racially diverse than it ever has been. There are more women who work in my office than men, and it's ever been. So I guess you can only judge me by that. If I become mayor, I agree with you. That's maybe a question asked to some of the other candidates who've been involved in development. Marty Walsh, for example, who's my friend, but he's been involved in construction trades. He's coming in tonight. Perhaps you can ask him.
Well, I will.
Yeah, okay. So, but I mean, I'm the district attorney. I mean, I hear what you're saying. You don't think for a minute that I don't think that if the young people here in this community had a job as a pipe fitter or as a carpenter or as an electrician, that they would, they'd be so much better off. They would be buying houses. They would be investing. They would be part of that great building.
Right here, 1, 2, 3.
Why running for mayor of Boston now? And do you know that?
Why am I running for mayor of Boston now? What's the second part you stuff?
Yes.
And do you know that?
I've met Mel. I don't know him well.
All right.
As I told you, I'm running for mayor because I believe I can take a good city and make it great. I believe I can be the transformative mayor. I can transform education. I can make sure Boston continues to be a safe city and be even safer. I want to expand the middle class of Boston. These are all the reasons why I'm doing this. With respect to your nephew, I'm very sorry. I care about every single one of these cases. There's a young boy that was murdered senselessly in Tremont Street 3 days after Amy Lloyd was murdered. I was the only one, I believe, that spoke up and did some charges with that. At the same time, I announced the arrest of the individual involved in Amy Lloyd. Let's not forget this young man. Most of the people that we serve are people of color. Okay, and it's a human tragedy that this has happened. Okay, it shouldn't be happening. But every single day, since I was elected district attorney and when I was appointed as assistant mayor, motivated to serve victims. That's what drives me to work today.
Dan, two-part question. The first part is just about the track record as the DA. They say the best way to judge someone in the future is based on what they've done in the past. So, in your response to the witness protection money that was in place for a lot of the victims, I know Suffolk County failed to use a lot of that money. I'm wrong?
Okay.
I'm wrong?
Very.
Okay, we'll follow up. We have to fact check later. In response to diversity in your office, how many people in positions of power are of color? Not so much line 88s, but the higher ups who make all the decisions. And really, the second part of that question is just around the homicide clearance rates. We have one of the lowest homicide clearance rates in the country here in Boston. What responsibility do you as the DA take in the fact that a lot of the killers who've committed these crimes are still walking the streets? And what do you intend to do about it as mayor that you haven't been able to do as the district attorney?
Full disclosure, okay, I let you go from my office, number one.
Let me go?
Yeah, I gave you a chance. Okay? I gave you a chance.
That is precious. That is precious. No, that's
I
precious.
gave you a chance when other people wouldn't.
That's precious.
So if your
I love
hostility, you're trying to be hot.
You're running for mayor, right? And I asked the question of the
I am,
potential
but
mayor.
let's have full disclosure. Let's have full
I put it out there first.
Okay? Yeah. Full disclosure, I used to work.
You don't like
That's
tough
not-
questions. Is that the
No,
point?
first of all, there wouldn't be a witness protection program in Boston and in Massachusetts if it wasn't for me. I drafted that bill. Okay, I pushed that bill through.
For that program.
There wouldn't be witness protection money. There wouldn't be witness protection money. There wouldn't be a witness protection program.
Not for you.
In our, correct. Okay, now your mother, if that's what you're saying, she offered to appropriate another.
Yeah, right now we're right in the middle of history.
Blame me, blame her colleagues, her former colleagues in the legislature. They passed it, they first funded it with $500,000.
You're misleading
And
people.
most of the money goes to the citizens of Suffolk County.
The Suffolk County office has to request the money for the victims and their families. You failed to do that. So I'm not making this up.
You want me?
We're gonna have to do fact
Okay,
checking.
can you answer my second question?
You're
Can you answer my
What
second
was your
question? It was about the homicide clearance rates and about diversity in the higher ranks of your office.
Remember Stacy Ford's wife?
She's no longer there. What are you talking about now?
Do you remember Stacy Ford's wife?
She's now a judge, yeah.
Okay,
So now currently.
All right. What role, what position did she have in the office?
That's not my question.
What role did she have in the office?
I don't.
Chief District Court Prosecutor and head of the hiring committee. Who did she hire in my office? How many, was Stacy responsible for diversifying the office in large part?
Stacy no longer works
Yeah.
there. I'm asking you about current status.
What we're gonna do,
Excuse
excuse me. This is my forum, excuse me, this is my forum. I'm gonna move on to the, if that needs to be taken care of, you guys have some coffee later and get that done. I'm going to the
Just
next
don't run my
question.
court later.
All right? Go ahead, please.
Okay, so my question really is along similar lines, and I really hope that we don't have to get contentious. As you know, for a long time, one of my concerns is the cop shootings. People who have been shot by the Boston police and murdered. Looking at the list, all of those people are Black, Latino, and Cape Verdean, which to me indicates not a coincidence but a pattern. In that, as your tenured DA, at least to my knowledge, since 2002, all of those you found no wrongdoing in any of those cases. I believe, if I may be correct, you may have the facts straightened in this. The only case that an officer was found guilty of any wrongdoing was the case of Officer Sean West, who shot up under the car, and he just happened to be a black cop. So in that, have you found any wrongdoing? And then the other thing is, I know in past you've been, you've had kind of an off and on relationship with Ed Davis. You guys have come together on many occasions, but you've disagreed in the past. And to communities of color, once again, with both the cop shootings and that, how you've adjudicated or found in those cases. And also, too, why would you commit yourself to say that you would keep on Ed Davis when, at least, maybe not you, but there are many people out there who would argue that he has done a terrible job?
Well, a couple of things I'd say. First of all, every single time I investigate a police-involved shooting, I do two things. I issue a decision, which is written, go on my website, my district attorney website. You'll see the factual findings and the legal analysis. Secondly, I open up my file to the press. Come in, review the press, let me, you figure out if I did anything you want to question. Okay? So I've had 4 or 5, 5 or 6 police-involved shootings during my tenure. It's all on the website. I invite you all to go and read them, read the factual findings, read the legal analysis, and see if you disagree. Okay? With respect to the victims of those incidents, not all of them have been African-American men. There was a young woman who was shot in the eye by an African-American officer with a less than lethal weapon.
That doesn't count. I'm talking about real guns and bullets. That was clearly an accident because the weapon's not meant to kill.
Okay, that doesn't count. All right.
Right, no, it doesn't.
What I'm saying is, you're going to put facts out there, put out the correct ones. Not all of the victims have been African American men. A young man who was in an altercation with a shooting, but I did an investigation after Celtics championship victory. Caucasian.
And he died in custody due to respiration problems.
Look at my website. Every single one of these. This is public. This is transparency.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about shooting,
This is
gun and bullet.
unprecedented.
Gun and bullet
Okay?
is what I'm
This
talking
is
about.
unprecedented. No district attorney in the country does what I do with respect to police department. No case has been taken over by the United States Attorney. No big exposition has been written by the Globe or the Herald saying that I got it wrong. Okay? I'm as transparent as I can be. We are informed by the facts and the law. No politics ever gets involved in these decisions. Okay, if you want to criticize those decisions, read them carefully and raise a factual or a legal dispute that changes that decision. You can't do that.
You said I can't
We
do that?
have, we
You
have,
can if you want to,
right.
but you won't be. It won't have merit.
okay, I have the last question.
Hold on, hold
for
on.
you.
He's, my
I have
Ed
the
Davis,
last
my Ed
question.
Davis, he didn't answer the Ed
Ed
Davis.
Davis, real briefly. I've known Ed Davis.
Late.
I've known Ed Davis for 12 years. I've worked with him more than anybody else in this city by a long shot. I talk to him more frequently than any other person, maybe except for the mayor. I think he's done a good job. You might disagree with that. You might not think he's subject to, but if I'm elected mayor and I ask him to stay and he's willing to stay, I will keep him. I believe he has done by and large a good job.
The last question I have for you is, who are your campaign staff? Do you have anybody here that's...
Fatima Breton, she's my political director. Fatima, raise your hand.
Just show me, did you pass enough material? Did you pass
Yes,
it
I
out?
am.
All right, you want to do that real quick, and anybody else that we should be in contact with in order to find out more
Yeah,
information?
make up your own minds, that's all I ask. Don't be persuaded by people who have an axe to grind. That's what I'd like to say. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming.
Boston, and I'm really